A power-hungry Karen attempts to get me fired, but her revenge plot backfires, resulting in her own termination. When this happens, she seeks to sue for discrimination, failing epically. Here's the thrilling account. Subscribe to my YouTube channel I'm the Fool and hit the bell for notifications. A few years ago, I began my journey at a heavy industrial manufacturing company. Fortunately, I was appointed as a team leader by my exceptional boss, Joe. The job was demanding, requiring 12-hour days for 13 consecutive days, followed by a Sunday off, and then repeating the cycle for another 13 days. In my youth, I faced it head-on, knowing it would contribute to our future, saving up for our home. After 6 months, Joe recognized my dedication and promoted me to group leader, with a salary increase and more responsibilities. While most avoided problematic groups, I embraced challenges, identifying improvements and solving issues. In a unionized workshop, the prevailing mindset was to just clock in and out, without putting in extra effort or acting smarter. That was the silent motto. Over time, Joe was promoted to manager and transferred me to his department. Although I wasn't officially a supervisor, I performed all the duties. Supervisors loved it because they didn't have to leave the office, and I enjoyed the learning experience. I gained respect from both the workers and management. When Joe was promoted to factory manager, an opportunity for a supervisor position arose. However, the only available position was under Karen's management. She, a woman, a minority, and a member of the LGBTQ community, was the workplace's inclusion representative. Despite Joe's doubts about her abilities, I, a bold and positively minded entrepreneur, accepted the position. While interviewing Karen and her supervisors, I noticed they were reserved. Chris, a young supervisor, stood out. During the first week, everything went well, until Chris's wife went into labor in the second week. While Chris took 6 weeks of paternity leave, I was left in charge of the area, overseeing 60 employees. The situation became challenging, but I did my best. Seeking guidance from Karen, she belittled me, insinuating that I was dispensable. Determined, I worked tirelessly, receiving a smartwatch from my wife, while logging an average of 25,000 daily steps to keep everything running. We faced adversity, relying on employee collaboration. For some, the situation wasn't favorable. A few weeks later, while reviewing quality documents, I noticed that one of the protocols wasn't being followed at one of the gates. I forwarded the information to the quality engineers via email, resulting in an exalted reaction. This issue represented only 4 hours of a 20-hour operation, which we were overlooking. I discovered that Karen had been promoted for efficiently managing her department, choosing to skip this quality process and save 20% of the time. However, the engineers never validated this decision, triggering significant damage control. The process had to be reintegrated, and the uninspected parts needed warranty extensions. This caused dissatisfaction within the company, and Karen faced criticism during this period. Karen, in turn, became more vindictive. She openly declared that she would never be fired, acting as she pleased. She traversed departments, and if she didn't like someone, she forced supervisors to file daily complaints. At the end of the day, she demanded that we find reasons for termination. If we failed, she imposed menial tasks on supervisors, such as conducting inventories late into the night, just on a whim. She didn't allow supervisors to make decisions without her approval. Matters like overtime awaited her response until the end of the day, harming department performance. When there wasn't enough personnel for the job, she blamed the supervisors, even though we knew it wasn't right. We all wanted to keep our jobs and worked for the good of Karen and the employees, essentially becoming puppets in her circus. On Chris's first day back, he and I were summoned to Karen's office. She began reprimanding me for alleged poor performance, tarnishing my image and stating that I never sought help. This left me stunned, especially considering her previous comments and the hierarchy where the supervisor's role was inferior to hers. After the meeting, still in shock, I realized she was about to fire me. Immediately, I called Joe and requested a meeting the same day. Meeting with Joe, I recounted the events and the harassment I was facing, revealing Karen's vindictive nature. Surprisingly, another supervisor called Joe during our conversation, making similar complaints about Karen. Joe was shocked and promised to address the situation with her. Although he didn't want to lose me, he offered a lateral transfer to any available position in the company starting the next day. I accepted the offer and moved to an engineering department, thinking that would be the end of the nightmare. A few weeks later, leaving work, Karen mentioned that I hadn't returned my laptop and phone. I claimed not to be aware of the need but promised to return them the next day. She smiled and stated that she would receive them soon, something I didn't pay much attention to at the time. However, after about 6 months, I underwent an evaluation with my boss, Jake, and was pleasantly surprised with an excellent review. Jake was extremely satisfied with my performance. At the end of the meeting, Jake casually mentioned how Karen tried to intervene in the review, seeking my dismissal. However, Joe intervened and thwarted her plans. "Okay, Karen, now you've really annoyed me." After leaving Karen's department, the turnover rate skyrocketed. Supervisors were leaving their positions at an alarming rate of 1 every 3 months, which was unusual for a company with multiple generations of workers. Entire families, with parents, children, and even 3 generations working side by side, were being impacted. Karen, acting like a steamroller, became the stain for those working under her management. Casually, I mentioned the increasing turnover to Joe, but he was perplexed, not understanding what was happening. People were resigning without notice, without exit interviews. I explained to Joe that Karen was pressuring employees to leave. When they handed in their resignation letters or gave notice 2 weeks in advance, she ordered them to leave immediately, disregarding the letter. Then, she claimed to HR that the person had quit immediately. Joe recognized the difficulty of acting against her without an airtight case. I decided to take action, keeping the supervisors working under Karen informed. I took them out for drinks after work a few times a week, ensuring they emailed their resignation letters to Karen, Joe, and Human Resources. I made sure the exit interview was conducted by HR, and encouraged them to call the company's integrity hotline to ensure things progressed smoothly. All supervisors were on board, except Chris, who luckily wasn't a direct target of Karen. I found out that Karen was cutting salary increases as a cost-saving measure, explaining why she wasn't harassing Chris. When I informed Chris, he was furious and considered resigning immediately. I encouraged him to talk to Joe before making any decisions. The meeting between Joe and Chris was productive, and Chris chose to stay. Now, all supervisors were on board. Strategically, Joe brought in a wig from the headquarters in Kansas, and over a week, each supervisor was discreetly interviewed without Karen noticing. At the end of the interviews, there was a stack of evidence, including emails, text messages, and eyewitnesses. The company, though wishing to keep the situation secret, confronted Karen, informing her that they no longer needed her services and offering a generous severance package. Karen, by her nature, lost composure in front of the Human Resources Department and threatened to sue for discrimination, even involving a lawyer. At that moment, the company presented the stack of evidence, withdrawing the severance offer. After a few months, Karen landed a new job as a manager in a different factory. That's when I casually mentioned to my factory's union representatives about her new job and suggested they might want to contact the union at the other factory. She was fired in 3 months for harassing employees. In the last information I received, she had to sell her house and move to another state to find a job. Maybe I'm the fool for getting back at Karen, but if she hadn't threatened to sue them, they were ready to grant her that generous severance package. However, it seems like they were confident she would try to sue them or, at the very least, threaten to do so, which might explain the confidence in offering the package. The most surprising part of the entire narrative leading up to the outcome was the fact that the company rewarded and praised Karen for her efficiency, only to find out in the end that she was bypassing all safety precautions and the quality assurance step. Since no one noticed until the operation was discovered, they gave her all these accolades without caring about the efficient method. They accepted it on the surface, which seems strange, but maybe they assumed that no one would skip the quality assurance phase of the operation. It was hard to imagine that someone would do that, but she did. Have you ever had a work experience with someone like this, and what would you do if you were in Jericho's situation? Or not, if you think I'm the fool for scaring my sister-in-law with a cardboard cutout of The Rock. I'm a 32-year-old woman, and my sister-in-law, 43, is super nosy. It happened before, but she's one of those people who deny something to death, no matter how much evidence you have. In my house, the guest bathroom is partially shared with the master bedroom. The toilet and sink are separated for guests, so through one door, you can access the shower and cabinets, and another door leads to the bedroom. Basically, you can enter our room through the bathroom without going through the main door. When she came, she would sometimes take a long time in the bathroom. On the third or fourth time I saw her passing through the bathroom and heard two doors closing, I asked if she was looking for something in the room and if I could help her find it. She replied, "Why would I go to your room," and changed the subject. The next time she came, I put something small behind the bedroom door to see if she had opened it because the object would be pushed back. Later, I found that it had been moved, confirming that she was snooping again. I asked her directly if she was in our room. She said something like, "I don't care what's in your room about you." Yesterday, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law came to visit. However, before that, I ordered a life-size cutout of Dwayne Johnson, which I placed in our room facing the bathroom door about an hour before her visit. As soon as she entered the bathroom, I heard a scream, a thud, and then a door slamming. She came out angrily, clearly frightened, hitting her arm on the doorframe as she moved away from the cutout. My brother-in-law worsened the situation by asking why she was in their room, but she didn't respond. Shortly after, they left. She posted on Facebook that she has a large bruise on her arm as a result of my unpleasant prank. People are commenting that she could have been hurt more and that she's too old to be a victim of a childish prank. I feel bad for hurting her, it wasn't my intention. However, I might be the fool because I still find it hilarious. Actually, it's quite funny to me. It makes me wonder what she was trying to find in that room, or maybe she didn't want to find anything. It could just be someone who likes to look around, but having that direct door to the room was too tempting to resist. My sister-in-law constantly lies about things like this. I feel like maybe I have no other choice but to put a lock on that door, accessible only from the room side. I mean, how else to deal with this situation without her going to Facebook and turning the situation against me, making me the villain? But it's hard to imagine a better way to deal with it than the cardboard cutout of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Let me know if you have a better idea of how to handle this and if I'm the fool in this situation. In a recent move to a property that gives access to a homeowner association neighborhood, my backyard is adjacent to about 4 of their properties. Although I'm not part of the property, the road to my house is a small private road that runs parallel to their private road. When I moved, the county informed me that my garbage collection point was on their road. However, it's not a good place for a garbage truck to maneuver. After about 2 collections, I found a note in my trash can with usual complaints, claiming I can't leave my can on the road, etc. I take it to the end of my road, which works well. I tried to connect to gas because electric heating is expensive, and the nearest gas line runs through their road. The utility company agreed, but they blocked the installation. I installed a tank, and shortly after, I received another note on my door saying the noise from the installation was disturbing and that the tank was an eyesore. It's a buried tank that's barely visible. The complaints continued for about 6 months, including mowing the lawn outside the association's designated hours but within the county's hours. Until a platform with a backhoe arrived at my driveway. I went out to see what was happening, and apparently, the association's sewer connection runs under my property, something is clogged, and they need to tear the pipe to take a look. Summing up the story, it seems the builder made a handshake agreement with the former owner about that sewer line, conceding some land to allow passage through the property. There's no easement in the deed, no written document. I sent the backhoe operator to deal with it. Then the president of the Homeowners Association, HOA, came to my door, saying the sewer was causing blockages in several homes, rendering toilets, showers, sinks, etc., unusable. They need to fix and reinstall the sewer on their road, not all over my property. This will cost millions of dollars, which they don't have, and will take months. I replied, expressing my understanding of their difficult situation and mentioning that the sign says "No trespassing," asking them to stay away from my property. I received a threatening letter from their lawyer later, but it doesn't seem to have much legal basis to support them. I believe they can sue me if they want. They've been dealing with mobile and noisy sewage tanks for the past 3 months, with no sign of a new pipe. Some HOA residents stopped to inform me that the houses are practically uninhabitable with the pump problem, limited to 5-minute showers and restrictions on toilet use. They even lost a home sale. However, they claimed not to have any involvement in the HOA situation beyond living there. I replied, saying I'm sorry for them, but the HOA has been a hassle from the start, and I'm not willing to let them mess with my yard after the treatment I've received. They called me an idiot. This is one of those situations where the people suffering the consequences are not necessarily the ones who made the initial mistake. The problem is that they were supporting this individual from the beginning, and the fact that they didn't realize they needed him too is perplexing. Maybe it was just the HOA president who made the handshake agreement, and no one else in the HOA knew about it. So, they thought they could create problems and cause inconvenience to the original poster. The mobile sewage pump situation is a temporary solution with no long-term prospect, and it may even violate county rules. Despite that, I feel sorry for the people living there who are not part of the HOA, being collateral victims of this situation. If I were the original poster, I would handle the situation in a way to protect my property and not allow them to dig up my yard to fix the sewer line. I would consider other alternatives and evaluate how the operation turned out in this case. Share your opinion below. Some rules include updating all vaccines. If you feel unwell, do not visit us and let us know a week in advance so we can schedule a day and time. No smokers, no phone calls or visits between 7:30 a.m. and 10 p.m. You can only hold the baby for an hour without consent. No advice, no perfume or deodorant. No means no, and we won't explain why. No photos should be taken or posted on social media. If you're visiting for the first time, it's expected to give the mother a gift card and the baby a present from our approved list before coming. No matter how often you visit, you'll receive a list of food or groceries to bring with you and tasks to choose from a list of your choice. No more than 2 visits per week per person have helped keep visits minimal, and no one can complain of favoritism as everyone is treated equally. These are our clear rules. My current situation involves my 20-year-old sister-in-law, a university student who is rarely at home. She asked to visit last week before returning to school. We set a date, sent a link to our gift list, and requested the delivery we would like, including some optional tasks. She immediately responded, saying she's broke and could do the extra tasks instead. After a conversation with my husband, we decided to stick to our rules, declining her request. She didn't respond. We went out today, and we received messages from my in-laws criticizing us for using our son as a way to make money. My husband responded that those were our rules, and no one deserved special treatment. We have since blocked the family. Some friends and family say we're wrong because she's a broke university student, and they would have understood if we had relaxed the rules. We tried to contact his sister, but she didn't respond. I feel judged for refusing to break the rules to see my newborn, even if it's the only chance she's had to see him in months. It seems like they're holding the baby hostage, demanding everyone comply with their conditions. If you were the sister in this situation, how would you have handled it? Let me know below. I appreciate greatly for watching until the end of the video on my channel Reddit. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to share with friends and family, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notification bell to not miss any new content. Your interaction is crucial for the channel's growth. Until next time.